In, man, yes! Come on!
"117 games later, there is one team standing in the Canadian Premier League, and that this year is Cavalry FC." This is the CPL Newsroom presented by Volkswagen. I'm Charlie O'Connor-Clarke, alongside Mitchell Tierney, and we're going to take you through all of the emotions and the reaction and the analysis that you want to hear from the 2024 CPL final. Mitch, you and I, we got back from Calgary last night. I think we're still recovering a little bit. It was a long couple of days. But just to start me off here, Cavalry and Forge in the final. It's been entertaining every single time. But what a day this was at ATCO Field, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tommy Wheeldon Jr. said it best. I mean, he said a lot of memorable quotes over the day, as he always does, and especially when his team's on the winning side. But pain to champagne, right, for a Cavalry FC team that has tasted playoff heartbreak in their previous 5 seasons, even with everything they've done over the regular season, the most successful regular season club in Canadian Premier League history. Their seasons always ended in some sort of disappointment, and most of the time, again, that is at the hands of the club they played in this year's final, Forge. And yeah, just a special day for them and a special performance. I mean, the real story of this for them is the fact that they learned from every one of those 5 lessons they've been taught in the past. I mean, they, took advantage of their home crowd. They got that first goal. They added another goal, managed the emotions, managed the match, and they did so under pretty colossal pressure to win this game. And that's the mark of a champion. And that's why, they were the team lifting the cup on their home pitch.
Yep, absolutely. And in front of over 7,000 people at ATCO Field, this is a club record attendance. Easily the best day in Cavalry FC's history. This was just an incredible day for the club, but I think we need to right now get into an incredible performance from Cavalry FC, because I personally believe this is the best game they've ever played on the biggest stage. Having come under pressure, having come under some doubts at times about their ability to perform in knockout games and in big moments, especially against Forge, they emphatically silenced those doubts on Saturday, and also in the qualifying semifinal. We can't forget they beat Forge twice in a row in the playoffs, and I think genuinely put to rest any kind of doubt like that. Mitch, you and I were both pitch side for this first half. How impressive were Cavalry?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, the level of energy they came out with from the very start, and then as I think they had something like 8 shots in the first 20 minutes or something like that. As each of those chances, maybe didn't go their way or were stopped by Yassim Khalilat or cut out, like they didn't stop going. They didn't, they didn't use those to as adding to their nerves. They instead upped the pressure on Forge until Forge finally broke. And I mean, it was a fantastic. The press when they lost the ball was incredible. Ali Musi won the ball 10 times during this game. And anytime the ball gets past him, there's Sergio Camargo. Shemit Shom was everywhere in that midfield to recycle plays and just put them back in. The interplay between their front four and everyone else was outstanding. It was just an absolute footballing masterclass. And again, I think incredibly important. And obviously, we talked a lot before the match about how important that first goal was going to be. And, Cavalry's the one club that's been in a CPL playoff match and in a final where that first goal didn't win the game, right?
Yeah.
And they have to come out and get a second. I think that's just as important, obviously, on the day, because that gives them the opportunity to do what happened in the second half and have maybe a 10-minute or so misstep where Forge gets back in it a little bit. But, if that's 1-1 at that point, who knows where it goes from there. So it was, especially that first half was incredible. And then they're able to, just really see it out and manage the game in a way that maybe we haven't seen from past Cavalry teams. Certainly last season comes to mind in the final. And yeah, this year was just immense from that perspective.
Yeah, we're going to get back into the nuts and bolts of how Cavalry won this game and how they got to this point, in a sec throughout the show. But we need to start getting some other voices involved here. We have so much reaction from Cavalry players and staff from after the game that we want to show everybody on this show. And we have, not a ton of time to get to it. So we're going to start as soon as possible. We're going to start, though, with Tommy Wheeldon Jr., the manager of this Cavalry Football Club since day one. An understandably emotional moment for him. He spoke to Christian Jack after the game. Here's what he had to say.
Okay, I got one more.
Oh, timing. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find, reaching for someone in the distance, so close you can almost taste it, release your inhibitions, we're not your skin, no one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. Done. That's it. Words.
Words, my friend. You're a champion. How does this feel?
Better than losing it, that's for sure. I think last year I was a gut punch, and you got to be tough, you got to be resilient, and I couldn't be more proud of the performance, both with the ball first half, without the ball second half. These guys are tough, and I said that before, and it's going to take a while to sink in, I'm not going to lie.
The rest is still unwritten, you said, but you wrote your own script today. You went out there and won it, didn't you?
We did. We had to. We said it's our final, it's our house. We have the opportunity here to go and be the front foot and actually take it to them, because you need 2 goals against these. They'll always come back, and they did, and we had to hold it off.
All the talk all week was about the superpower of the group that you have together. It feels real, know that you have this group to be able to come together like this, and how special it is to do it for this group.
Yeah, I think second half of the season we lost 1. They binded to each other. They played different roles. Sergio's injury going down early was something we hadn't planned for, but we had to adapt, and they all stuck up for each other. Malcolm Shaw's gone from 9 to 11. Ali Musi's changed wings. Charlie Trafford's come in and played the 6 to the 10. I couldn't be prouder of them.
Tommy, I know it's been a long journey for you, but when you put your head on the pillow tonight, what will you think of?
I don't know. I think the room will be spinning, to be honest. You've got to feel the pain if you want to taste the champagne. And today, I think, and before, it's taken us a long time to get to where we are, but I'm so bloody proud of these guys. And what a place. Last year we could have lifted it at their place, but you can't take this away. We've lifted 2 trophies in front of these in 2 years, and this is for these guys. I said that when we had CONCACAF and we couldn't play it here. This is for these guys, because our owners, Linda Southern Heathcott, our mums here today that I can't wait to see. They've backed us, and we've been able to bring football to Calgary. Calgary's a football city.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So many emotions, and shout out to the karaoke stylings of Tommy and Veronica Wheeldon.
He maybe could have used the words there for
yeah.
For the
kind of nailed the octave shift though, when it comes out of the chorus.
It's not easy to do.
It was a brave thing to do on television, but shout out Tommy, and he's right. This Cavalry team struggled at times in this season, out of the playoffs at the midway point, but then at the end of it, they lost 1 of their last 16 games. They are absolutely very, very worthy champions. One of those people that's been around this club, again, since the very beginning, Sergio Camargo. He also spoke to KJ after the game. Here's what he had to say.
With one of the originals, tears in his eyes, Sergio Camargo, you're a Canadian Premier League champion.
Yeah.
How's it feel?
Amazing. I don't know. I don't know what to say. We've been working for this for so long. I wanted this so badly, and we did it. And I'm sorry for swearing, but we did it, KJ.
You did it.
And Forge is such a great team. They really showed the league what it takes to be champion, and we knew that we could do that as well. So we're just...
What does it mean for you to do this with the players that you have on this team, this family that you have, and with Tommy as well?
Yeah, I mean, Tommy, Ledge, Marco, Jay, we've been there since day one. Added Charlie, Moosey, Clumpy, all the new guys this year, Sham, who's been here a couple of years. We were just slowly building to a team that we felt could take over. And hopefully that gets us going even more. And I don't know. This is the last place I want to be. As much as I like you,
I get it. I want to get one more out of you, though.
Okay.
You had tears in your eyes last year in Hamilton. Now you have tears in your eyes as a winner here in Calgary. Makes up for it, no?
It makes up for it. It makes it even sweeter. Just that weight that we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming, and there's so much character in this team for us to lose the way we did last year, to say, okay, we're going to come back next year even stronger, and we did it.
Go see the guys. I know you love
Appreciate
them.
you. Love you.
Camargo was excellent in the first half of this game as well. He's scoring the second goal. Mitch, just let's talk about the Cavalry attack as a whole in this game. There was a moment, I think, in the first half before they scored the penalty where it kind of felt like this could go one of two ways. And it was either they find their goal and they're off to the races and they win the game, or they don't find their goal, the ball doesn't go in the net for them, and at halftime, Forge adjust and they come out and win this, right?
Yeah, I think that's what was going through everyone's head before the ball finally got into the back of the net for them was, we've seen this happen time and time again. We saw this happen with Atletico Ottawa to a lesser degree. Obviously, they weren't nearly as dominant as Cavalry were, but they had a ton of chances to take it to Forge during that semifinal. We saw this in the final last year over the course of 90 minutes. Tristan Henry making that save on, was it Jesse Daly at the time, I think. If Cavalry score that, then they're probably winning that final last year. And there's so many times that if you can't kill off Forge, like, they're coming right back. And again, that's why it was so important they got the first goal, and again the second goal. Forge has never come back down 2-0 and 1 in their history, and that's partially because I don't know how many games they've been down 2-0 in, like maybe 5, but nevertheless, like, that's never happened to them, and that's how important that second goal was. And yeah, just from an attacking perspective, I mean, everyone was on point again with the ball, but just as important was the work rate they had without the ball. Because if those attacks are coming maybe a little bit less frequently, then I think Forge would have had time to adjust and find their game and find their shape. But they didn't. They never really had that opportunity, because the second Cavalry lost that ball or a chance went missing, everyone's back in position. The wingers are picking off passes out wide. Again, line after line of players are stepping up and taking it through. And one thing that I think Forge adjusted, but also was key, was the center backs had all the time in the world to, when the ball comes out, Clump picking up his head and playing another pass right in. So it was just so impressive. And yeah, again, the reason they won that game in the first half, as much as they held on to it in the second half, like, what they did in the first half was enough to win a final on its own.
Yeah, it was. And man, what we can't possibly say enough about Toby Warshevsky. This is a guy who, again, we talked about him 2 weeks ago on this show when he was a huge player in that first win against Forge. But this guy hadn't played competitive football for 18 months when he stepped into the Cavalry side. But I think we should have known what he has in him, the qualities he has. I mean, with all due respect to the team he was playing on before, he was able to score that many goals for a team that was in the bottom of the league in Edmonton. So maybe we shouldn't have been surprised that once he got up to fitness and he got into form, he was going to be unstoppable with Cavalry. And he was just, he was all over the place in the press. He did so much work defensively. And then every time the ball came to him, it seemed like something was going to happen. He would beat a defender. He would play a creative pass, or he put the ball in the net himself. And he just seemed like a man on a mission, especially ahead of that second goal. When I think he takes the attempt, it gets blocked, he wins the ball back, he steps around another defender and eventually finds Camargo for the good finish. But Warshevsky, very, very rightly so, I think, given the CPL's first ever CPL final MVP award. Just a player who peaked at the right time. And I think, what is it, 6 goals or 7 goals in his last 5 games of the season?
Something like that.
It was 6 in 4 last time. It was 5 in his last 3 of the regular season. So 7 and 5.
Yeah, there you go.
Again, absolutely unstoppable. And in many ways, kind of a piece that really fit the way that Cavalry wanted to play, and a huge reason they got to this point. Also a huge reason that they got to this point, and a man who was maybe underratedly busy in this game, had a lot of work to do, is Marco Carducci, the captain of Cavalry FC. Not facing a ton of shots, but had a lot to do in kind of sucking the air out of the game in the second half, taking the tempo, make sure the ball is moving slowly, and claiming a few of Forge's crosses and making some saves as well. He's the captain of Cavalry, and he, again, has been at this club since day one. He also caught up with KJ after the game, and he was very emotional. Here's what he had to say.
Any one of those shirts? There you go.
Marco, as a skipper, you just lifted the North Star Cup. How does this feel?
Incredible. It's been a long time coming for us, and to finally get it over the line, get the hands on the trophy feels amazing.
You called it a superpower yesterday. What this team, what this family means to you, it's got to be extra special, to win it with this group.
Just this alone is something that's so special, especially to me, someone who's been here since day one, someone who's from this city. But this team showed today how good we are and how much we can fight. And that's what we have to do to win these types of games. We know we could. We got it done, and now we get to enjoy.
You just said I almost felt the confidence this week, everyone wanted to talk about last year, but the mentality, you've lost 4 games all year. It felt like you believed you were going to win.
We did. Like we said, the past is the past, and the future is unwritten, and we embrace that. Looking at last year's playoffs or before that, doesn't matter. This team's different. We believed all year. We had that resilience, and we kept that mentality all the way through playoffs. These are high-pressure games. We know what's on the line, but we kept that lightness. We believed in each other, and it came out on the field.
Last one for you. Tommy's been here since the start. You've been here since the start. I just interviewed Sergio. He's crying. For you originals, this has got to be extra sweet.
When I saw Sergio, I was in tears as well. We've been, again, working at this for 6 years, and we've been so close and felt the pain, and now we can enjoy this moment really, really extra special because we know what it's like to come all this way and not get it done. But for us, and obviously for every single person involved, like the backroom staff, so many of the coaches, everyone had a part to play, and it's just a great feeling.
You're a champion off the pitch. You're a great guy. Now you're a champion on it. Congratulations.
Thank you, KJ. Thank you.
Marco, obviously who was winning today.
These Cavalry guys are getting a lot of mileage out of this Natasha Bedingfield song. But fair enough. We had one more player that we spoke to on the field. Actually, we had several more, but one more that we want to show you guys because I think arguably the most emotional person I saw on the pitch after this game was Diego Gutierrez. Again, another newcomer to Cavalry this year, had been at Valor the year before, had chosen to return to the CPL after going back to Chile for a little bit. Mitch, he was also excellent in this game, wasn't he?
Undefeated in playoff matches is Diego Gutierrez, which is something that Tommy Wheeldon Jr. Pointed out after the match. Yeah, again, that midfield two of him and Shemit Chom, it maybe took a little bit of the season to figure out what the best mix was in the midfield for Cavalry, but once they did, again, just having two players who on both sides of the ball, again, they can hold it, they can change the tempo. Defensively, they're excellent in winning it back. This is a guy that has been one of the best midfielders in the Canadian Premier League over the past few seasons, and now getting the opportunity to do it on a championship team. He maybe didn't have the standout offensive statistics that we've seen from him in the past, but he was such a key part in what they were able to do over, certainly the back half of the season. And we saw him play his best football during that time. And again, when you need the intensity of a final like this, you see what it means to him. Those are the type of players that you really absolutely need in your squad in order to win these matches.
Yeah, absolutely. And Diego managed to get the tears to stop just long enough to speak to me on the pitch. And here's what he had to say. Diego Gutierrez, that hat looks good on you. What's this feeling like?
I don't have words. I'm sorry. I don't have words. I deserve it. I think I work. When I come back to CPL, I work hard in Valor. And I think I come here for something. And I did it.
No, we're so happy for you guys. Congratulations. Tell me about this game. It was really hard work. You're all over them in the first half, but then the second half, you really had to work to see this one out.
We're working hard in the first half. We did what the coach said. We scored in the beginning. I think we deserve it because we have the most ball and move everything. Second half, of course, they tough players. They manage the game, of course. We manage the game, defensive, and yeah, that's what it is.
Lastly, just who are the people you're thinking about right now?
What do you say?
Who are the people that you're thinking about right now that's special to you?
My brother, my mom at home. My brother at home. My brother is here. More important, my niece. my girlfriend. Yeah.
I'm sure they're all watching. They're very proud.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
A really great character in that locker room. I know Guti's teammates really appreciate him and the work he's done for them this year. Mitch, let's get back into this game just very quickly. We're going to hear from Bobby Smyrniotis from the Forge side in a second here, but what did you make of the way Forge played in this game, and maybe just the way they played in the last month of the season that maybe led them to, again, not lifting this trophy?
Yeah, I think we thought maybe the relaxed nature of Forge would be an advantage coming into this game, but I actually think it might have been a bit of a disadvantage where, they start this game maybe under the idea of bend don't break that works so well for them in the semifinals, and then the home side were not going to allow them to go unbroken in this half. They were going to find a way kind of regardless. But yeah, I think that it was pretty similar issues that have kind of been the case over the past few, which is again without a true number 9 up there. They just don't have an outlet to build out from, which is always an issue. Like, as good as they are for building out from the back, if you don't have that long ball as any option, like the other team could just press you. I think Cavalry won like 76% of the balls in the air, so that wasn't really an option over the top. Like, they can cheat a little bit more on the press, knowing that there isn't quite that threat in behind that could be. Yeah. So I think that that's obviously been an issue throughout. Injuries, we can't not talk about those because they're missing. Government Tuslo has been so important for them. Cisse obviously didn't get as much as he would have liked this season. Started late and ended early, but obviously an incredible player in this league. Victor Clonerius, the player they brought in to be that number 9. Barely ends up seeing the field for them. Para unable to start this game. Borges been dealing with stuff like that. That absolutely needs to be. I'm Poma leaving early. Like, this is it's a ridiculous list of injuries, but nevertheless, I just don't think they had the intensity or a plan that really worked on the day, and that's why they were down 2-0 at halftime, and just for once, like Bobby said, Bobby will say, in this clip coming up, a little bit of foreshadowing here, like the final bit of magic just wasn't there for them on the day.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is, Forge were very, very confident going into this game, and we saw that on media day the day before. But I think something that we all knew was that Forge didn't need to win this game the way that Cavalry needed to win this game, right? Cavalry lost the final last year, don't have a trophy this year, playing at home, have gotten to this point and not been successful twice now. They had to win this game, really. Like, it would have been just the emotional kind of blow it would have been if they hadn't won, would have been much more severe than it is on Forge this day, because I think the overwhelming reaction we saw from Forge players and staff after this was, we got beat, right? And I think they're a team that's been on the other side of that so many times in Canadian Premier League finals and in big games. They've been the team that just were the better side on the day. They can respect when it's not them. It's not their moment. The other team is just better on the day. And I think that was the case here. And obviously Forge will be back. They still won the CPL Shield this year. They'll be playing in CONCACAF, as will Cavalry in February. But it happens. I think just wasn't their day. And I think you'd probably say an uncharacteristically poor performance in a final from them. But again, as you mentioned, they hadn't been playing well really at all since they clinched the CPL Shield. And maybe it's just the fact that there were those 2 meaningless games for them at the end of the season. It's difficult to turn that switch back on. And I think, again, just it wasn't meant to be for them this year. But CPL Coach of the Year, finally, for the first time, Bobby Smyrniotis was classy as ever after the game in his press conference remarks. So here's the final word from Bobby Smyrniotis after the 2024 CPL season.
I just want to say a few things about today in general. First and foremost, congratulations to our opponent, Cavalry FC, on the win. I know it's something that the club has wanted for quite a while, and we've been on the right end of these games. So I know what that feeling is like, and like I told their players, to enjoy it. It's something that you never take for granted, so congratulations to Cavalry. They deserved it today. For my team, I'd like to thank them for a fantastic 2024 season, because sometimes we get into this, we'll talk about the tactics on the field, and then we're gone for 3 months. The team has given us a lot as a club, as a city. They've given us a lot of magical moments this year, another trophy this year. And you can't ask more from them, other than a little bit better of a result today. But these guys were excellent. I think they've given our club, our league, a lot to be thankful for over this past season, starting with Champions Cup, our run in the Canadian Championship, along with what we've done in this season. It's been a successful season all around. They've worked hard, and we haven't gotten in this game.
Absolutely. Well, again, we'll see more of Forge at some point, I'm sure, particularly in February. But Mitch, let's go back to Cavalry. We've seen all the reaction from the immediate emotion after winning the trophy and winning or lifting the cup. They continued the party in the locker room, as is tradition. I was in there. I got quite wet. Genuinely, I think the thickest air I've ever tried to breathe, because it's all tarped up. And the whole room was tarped up to obviously protect it. But once the champagne started spraying in it, like genuinely, you could taste it when you breathed in. The camera lens kept fogging up because it was just so humid in there. But I think worth it for us to be in there and get some of that reaction. We had a few extra special interviews, including, I think this one I want to start with, Kristen Jack, alongside an absolute legend of the CPL and of this Cavalry team, Dan Clump.
I'm here with one of the greatest players in Canadian Premier League history. It was immense today. You've won a trophy here. You're CPL champion. Congratulations. How does this feel?
Nah, this is like, I can't even describe it. Like we've been fighting so long to be here, and to finally have it after like my fourth year. This is it's unbelievable. So everybody's just.
The Dutchman Dan Clump with his clog as well. I don't know if you want to do.
Exactly,
You want to do a shoey or something?
You wait.
Me? No,
Yeah.
I don't win. You.
Come on,
Do it together.
Come
Do it together.
Yes, KJ.
There you go. I'm so happy for you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
I don't think we actually heard a lot from Dan there in terms of an interview, but I think it was worth it to capture that moment, a special one. And Dan, often a very reserved character. I think deservedly so, letting loose, right, Mitchell?
Yeah, veteran play from Mr. Christian Jack, who does not shrink, to convince Dan Clump that he was going to do the shoey with him, and then give a knowing tell to the camera as he dodges the the alcohol coming down at him. But a special moment, and obviously a player who, in both halves of this game, and obviously throughout the season, two-time Defender of the Year, Player of the Year last year as well. Like, this has been one of the best players in the Canadian Premier League over the past few seasons. So to see him get that moment, and he's obviously been celebrated individually, but we know guys in this sport, they don't care as much about the individual accolades as what they will look back at is being part of those championship teams. So to see him be able to do that was incredibly special on the day.
Absolutely. And we do have to say, Tommy mentioned this at Media Day. Dan Clump is out of contract. We don't know yet if he is going to be back with Cavalry. They are certainly hopeful that he will be, but if not, I think a very, very special way to see off who will still go down as one of the best players of the first few years of the Canadian Premier League. So a special player, and his defensive partner, Callum Montgomery, maybe didn't always get as much credit as Dan did at times, but I think he's a player who did have to step in at one point this year after going through some injury difficulties throughout the season, not always starting. Sometimes it was Kobza, sometimes it was Tom Field or a variety of players. But I think towards the end of the season, Callum Montgomery solidified his position as Clump's defensive partner, and obviously played a huge role in the last few weeks, especially in the playoffs of the season. he also deservedly let loose a little bit in the locker room, and I spoke to him. Here's what he had to say.
Callum Montgomery, champion. This has got to be a pretty good feeling.
Amazing. This year's been up and down the whole year, and people wrote us off, and to end up as the last team standing, it means the world. So
it's been a long year, starting in CONCACAF all the way to here. Just how much has this group meant to you?
It's grown every single day. I was saying last night to KJ, last night at the hotel, we're all playing cards. It's such a close-knit group. So I think just being together and trusting the process, we're just so happy to be here. You might need to bleep that out.
As you should be, though, as you should be. Just quickly on that game, I think that first half is maybe the best I've ever seen you guys play. And you had to bend and not break in the second half, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think, the first half, we had them at the sword's edge. We were playing unbelievable. The attacking unit was just so fluid. And then the second half, we had to grind it out. And that's the thing. In the final, you always know it's Forge is such a good team, right? They're always going to have their moments. So we just had to grind it out, see the game through. And, when we're tight and compact, no one can break us down.
They have their moments, but it's not this moment. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Something these guys do keep touching on that I'm going to ask you about here, Mitch. Multiple players have said in these interviews how good a team Forge are. I know we tried to poke them a little bit on Friday to see, if they'd wanted to play Forge in the final, if it would have felt wrong if they were playing a different team to win their first cup. I think by now, I still don't think anybody's going to admit it, but I think to us, it seems clear that it would have been a very different feeling if Cavalry had won this cup against Atletico Ottawa, right?
I think for sure to be able to beat Forge twice for the first two times in club history in the postseason, back to back to win the title. Like, I think if you had written it, like, again, we talk about Cavalry writing their own story. If they could write their own story, I think this is the exact way they would have done it. Going to Hamilton, being able to beat them there finally, and then returning home to beat the same team again that has beaten them twice in finals before, eliminated them from the playoffs. I think 2 other times if you count the Island Games. Like, yeah, this is exactly the perfect storyline for Cavalry. And I think the story they needed again to Tommy Wheeldon Jr. before this game talked about kind of the ongoing war between the two teams and how that's kind of been the story since the first season in the Canadian Premier League. And decidedly at that point, they've been losing that war pretty heavily, but they've won a pretty significant battle now. And all of a sudden, I think that war kind of metaphor is a little bit more apt because there is kind of a wider battle going on here now that Cavalry has, something that they can point to. They have a regular season, but I think this is one where it's clearly over top of Forge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for maybe the first time in a long time, we can definitively say that Cavalry are currently the ones with the edge in that department. They're with the psychological advantage, I think, maybe. But it will be fascinating to see when these two teams meet again next year. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. And as Tommy Wheeldon Jr. said the day before, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And Forge have been the best up until this point. Okay, we have one more interview from the locker room to get to. Always a hilarious and interesting character is Charlie Trafford. He also caught up with KJ, and here's how that one went down.
The fucking legend Christian Jack. What a treat this is.
Charlie Trafford, you're a CPL champion. How's this feel, my friend?
Unreal, what a turnout today. This is what we do, and this group deserves this. It's so cool. What a feeling. This is why I moved home. Grow the game, win trophies. Back-to-back years now. We deserve such a special feeling, special group. So cool.
Last year, you were eating the net when Forge scored. Today, you get to drink champagne.
Yeah, I got enough messages from Forge fans with that photo, so I think I deserve. I'll reply this to them.
It's been a year coming, but it must feel great to be able to get it done after last year.
Yeah, what a special group. It's a frustrating year for me, injuries and stuff, but it's so cool. This is why we do it. You dream of this as a kid. The game's getting big here. This is so sick.
And last one for you is your coach, Tommy Wheeldon. Mr. Cavalry, really, how good is it to do this for him?
Unreal. I've known him. I have a coach under him since I was 12. We laugh about this, and so it's so special. This is what we do. We love each other in here. This is a special group. So cool, bro.
Forever a champion, bro.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate it.
That one, I think, properly encapsulates the energy in the locker room there after the game. Again, just let's maybe zoom out and look at the picture of this final as a whole this year. We're going to close here with a couple of questions that we've got on Twitter that I asked for, and the one and only Kevin Anderson asked, what is our biggest takeaway from the final this year, both on and off the pitch? Mitch, for me, I think it's just how great a day it was for the Canadian Premier League. Having a game like that on not only OneSoccer, but on CBC across the country, just before Hockey Night in Canada, we might add. That was just a really special thing to see that atmosphere, to see what soccer has become in this country. And then just for me to see how much this trophy and this championship means to the players that win it. That is an image that didn't exist in this country 7 years ago. Right. So for me, I think that's the big picture takeaway every single time, every single CPL final. You see how much it means to these players and how emotional they get. And I think that is a truly special thing for the game in Canada. But Mitch, I guess for you as well, on and off the pitch is the question, your biggest takeaway from the 2024 CPL final.
Yeah, I think it's a great point you made there on just how special it is for these players to be able to lift trophies, in their home country. Like, I think of Charlie Trafford, someone who's played the game around the world and gotten to experience, the highest level in Scotland and Poland and all these different places with the national team. And, now he gets to have this moment, and someone like David Edgar as well. The last time the final was in Calgary, like, again, this is a guy who played in the Premier League, but I don't think had won a championship before he did it with Forge. So for these guys who have done so much for Canadian soccer to get this opportunity to lift and have moments like this is so incredible. I think also of Sergio Camargo, being that day one, one of those first ever signings, and Nick Ledgerwood on the bench as the coach, like to have those guys be able to finally get this moment after so many years of heartbreak and so many years of doing, all these incredible things, and all that is remembered of their season is, Tristan Borges, the Olympico, in extra time. In some ways, that's the cruelty of this sport, but it's also the special part of this sport once that gets turned on its head and you get your moment to celebrate. Yeah. And I think in terms of the overall, like, how special are soccer specific stadiums when we can get them in Canada? We need so many more of them, but ATCO Field is a beautiful gem in this, in this country, to have the natural grass surface, which on the day, for November was excellent and played very well. And, that's an underrated fact in what Cavalry was able to do in that first half is, if that's an uneven, not great pitch, they aren't able to play the way that they did. So every credit to their grounds crew who share in this title as well. And yeah, just how special those scenes were at a stadium that, is made for soccer, is meant for soccer in Calgary. And just so cool to see that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, shout out to the grounds crew for getting that pitch as ready as possible. Shout out to everybody involved in making the final not just a great football match, but a great event and showcase of the game in our country. The stadium looked great. It was decorated well. There's so much going on, so much energy. Shout out to the foot soldiers for bringing that energy, and just everybody who came to this game, bought a ticket or went to the watch party or tailgated or whatever. And anybody who was at their first ever Cavalry FC game, don't make it your last. Come back next year. That's how we grow this. And just, it truly was a phenomenal, as I said, showcase of the game, showcase of Calgary's soccer community, especially, but of, what heights we can achieve with this sport in this country. We've got one more question from Twitter, and then we have to go because my voice is going to completely disappear. I can't believe it's lasted this long.
I know. It's been in trouble all day. It's been in trouble since Saturday, really. Yeah. But we had a question from Alexander Smith on Twitter asking about the 2025 CPL final. He says, what's most likely? Cavalry and Forge meet for a third year in a row. Only one of those two teams makes the final, or we get two new finalists next year.
I think for me, as it stands right now, probably the second option. I think we see one of those two teams, Forge and Cavalry, in the final. Like, I do think these teams are still ahead of everyone else, and they proved that this year, both in the regular season and in the playoffs in terms of their build. But this was also a year where I think we saw a lot of teams catch up in a big way. Obviously, Cavalry won the league by 13 points last year. We saw Atletico Ottawa lead the league for a lot of time. York had their moment at the top and I think closed that gap a little bit. Even teams like, Vancouver and Pacific had moments, Halifax, obviously the year before, Valor, like the table is so much closer and the margins are so much smaller that, again, I think we'll see a day next year where one of these two sides maybe goes out in the playoffs early or in a semifinal situation like that. And I wouldn't be shocked at that at all, but I do think probably one of these two teams is there next year. I think that it's too early to say that with all the experience they have, it won't be at least one of them.
Yeah, I think we would be quite surprised if at least one of them wasn't back here. But as you said, it was a very competitive year. 4 different teams led the league at some point this season, and none of them were Cavalry, who won the championship at the end of it through the playoffs. So, it'll be a fascinating offseason. There's a lot of movement to be done. That's always one of the more entertaining parts of the year, to see which clubs go in what direction. But I'm going to hate myself for doing this. Today is where the 2025 book begins. There's one last Natasha Bedingfield reference. We're going to leave you with that. Thank you very, very much to everybody who's been along for the ride with us all season long. We will be back a few times throughout the offseason to break down some player movement, break down probably the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw in early December. And congratulations to Cavalry FC on a truly, truly special moment for the club, for everybody involved. Every single person that has worked for that club, has played for that club, has supported that club over the 6 years of its existence. And again, thank you to everybody. We'll see you very soon. And until then, we're going to leave you with this lasting impression of the 2024 CPL final and all of the champagne that got poured in the Cavalry FC locker room.